Malcolm and Marie is a 2021 Netflix original film directed and written by Sam Levinson, starring Zendaya Coleman and John David Washington. The film, which is stylized in a 1950s film aesthetic and shot in one location, takes a look into the relationship Marie has with her narcissistic filmmaker boyfriend, Malcolm. The film, which was shot between June and July of 2020, is a film that explores the complexity and instability that is true to relationships. The authenticity of the relationship captured by Levinson is so close to the truth that it upends the perfect three-act structure storytelling is based on, because by the end of the film, there is no clear resolution. There is no clear winner of the nearly 2-hour argument we witness throughout the film, because in relationships, disagreements aren't meant to be had with winning and losing in mind. You are instead meant to listen to the grievances of your partner, understand why they feel the way that they do, and then figure out what you both need to do so the source of the argument doesn't happen again. However, this all depends on both people wanting to accept full responsibility for their part in things, and unfortunately for both Marie and Malcolm, neither one seems completely ready to do that, which is the nature of some relationships. This imperfect relationship and its nearly perfect portrayal on film are what make the film beautiful, but it is also why some critics seem to disagree. To understand the beauty and criticism of Malcolm and Marie, one has to first be aware of how subconsciously our minds crave the order that usually comes with the use of the three-act structure in storytelling. In storytelling, we as the audience want two things: a person to love or root for, which is the protagonist, and someone to hate or hope loses, which is the antagonist and or villain. We subconsciously crave the predictability that lends itself to the three-act structure in storytelling. We as the audience want that beginning where we meet the protagonist and the antagonist, and then the rising action that shows us more reasons why we should hate the antagonist, so that when it comes to the climax, we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the protagonist is right and the antagonist is wrong. So when the resolution comes, we know that good has triumphed over evil and all is good in the world. Malcolm and Marie do not give us this in any shape, form, or fashion, though Malcolm is more callous in his interactions with Marie than she is with him. However, even with this in mind, it's hard to ignore that they both say things to hurt the other without really thinking about how their words will affect the other person. Malcolm just always seems to take it a bit too far, which in the words of both Zendaya and Levinson is the point. The first true example of this within the film begins on page 39 of the script and at the 37-minute mark in the film, when Marie leaves the bedroom and accuses Malcolm of using her for the sake of the story he was trying to tell for his film. She throws back at him the very things he paraded in front of her only a few moments earlier. It is clear Malcolm's tirade was meant to show Marie that his work couldn't have been more important to him than her when he spent what seems to be a year helping her get clean, which, in his eyes, put the film he'd been working on since before they got together on hold. However, Marie does not see those acts in the way that Malcolm does. Before this night, she'd probably had her suspicions about his motivations for helping her, especially when the film so closely mimicked her life, and when Malcolm forgot to thank her during his speech, it confirmed for her what was at first a lingering doubt and is now a proven fact. The irony is that when Malcolm, as he often does, takes the argument a bit far and begins his rant about all the ways he put his film on hold to help her, he does it because he feels it proves he's not selfish. However, the moment he brings it up, for Marie, it confirms her suspicions of him simply using her for his story, and then moments later, he further proves to her his selfishness when he questions her remark about him being mediocre and completely ignores everything else that was said. The thing about this scene as it's written versus how the film was shot is that in the script, Malcolm ignoring everything in favor of focusing on the mediocre comment does come across as being wholly selfish. However, in the film, the line does still seem selfish, but not in the same complete way as it did in the script. In the film, it seems that the line hurt Malcolm in a similar way his rant to Marie hurt her, because to Malcolm, as expressed via Marie throughout the film, is the only thing he has. Malcolm comes from a two-parent home where they are financially well off, and Malcolm never had to struggle, so the only thing he has that means anything to him, for the most part, is his writing. So, by Marie calling him mediocre and rightfully expressing how he couldn't have possibly made the film without ever having known her, it hurts Malcolm because deep down he knows that not only is this true, but it calls into question his ability as a filmmaker, that his only successful film to date is based on something that he can't call completely his own. This part of the argument, which begins 30 minutes into the film, showcases, in my opinion, what makes the film beautiful, which is its ability to cast equal blame between both Malcolm and Marie, instead of attempting to shift full blame on one or the other simply for the sake of having a well polished plot that ticks off all of the storytelling plot elements that critics consciously and audiences subconsciously look for in a well structured plot. This is why some critics and audiences don't know what to make of the film, because the reality is most people want pseudo authenticity instead of actual authenticity. Most people want authenticity as long as it stays within the clear cut parameters of the three-act structure most people are subconsciously used to. Film as a medium, for most people, is a form of escapism. This is increasingly true now with the harsh realities of quarantine and COVID 19. So, for most people, it is hard to watch a film like Malcolm and Marie, which is so authentic in its portrayal of their relationship that it can be a bit unnerving. It is also as if you are watching something intimate you aren't meant to be seeing. But this blurred line, as unnerving as it may be, is what makes Malcolm and Marie a masterpiece.